Hi everyone, I am John Oredo from University of Nairobi, Kenya. My presentation is on personal cloud computing adoption, integrating IT mindfulness with TAM, technology acceptance model. The motivation behind this study is that cloud computing is a technological paradigm that is becoming popular and continue to grow in terms of usage, both at personal and organizational level. This is because cloud computing eliminates the high upfront and maintenance costs associated with the captive or or premise IT infrastructure installation and avails economies of large-scale data company pooling of resources. While cloud computing services have grown recently and continue to increase in popularity for both individual users and organization users, most research on cloud computing are focused on organizational or business users. Despite the fact that personal use of cloud services by individual consumers is an important component in the cloud computing ecosystem, researchers have paid less attention to individual adoption of cloud computing. Well-known cloud solutions such as Microsoft's OneDrive, Google Drive, and Dropbox target not only organizations, but also individuals who are critical in determining the popularity and success of these solutions. Therefore, it is necessary to expand our knowledge on when, how, and why individuals adopt cloud services for personal use. In order to investigate this, we have around 6 objectives. One is to establish the relationship between perceived usefulness and the intention to adopt personal cloud computing storage services. Two, the relationship between perceived ease of use and the intention to adopt personal cloud computing storage services. Three, the relationship between perceived usefulness and the perceived ease of use of personal cloud computing storage services. These are basically TAM variables. Number four is where we introduce a new variable in determining the intention to adopt of cloud computing for personal use. And this is the concept of IT mindfulness. So in objective number four, we want to establish the relationship between IT mindfulness and the intention to adopt personal cloud computing storage services. Objective number five is to establish the relationship between IT mindfulness and perceived usefulness of personal cloud computing storage services. And lastly, the relationship between IT mindfulness and the perceived ease of use of personal cloud storage services. And this is the conceptual diagram or the research model which we have established in order to conduct the study. So these relationships are the ones captured in the objectives, as it were. So to empirically test the research model, a questionnaire was used to collect data from students drawn from 2 public universities in Kenya. Students were chosen not only for convenience, but because of their early adoption of freemium cloud services. Most of the cloud services for individual use come in 2 flavors. That is a free version and a premium version. So, for example, Google Drive has got a free version, which can be used up to a certain limit. Dropbox the same. So students mostly use these free options, and therefore they get to familiarize themselves with these cloud storage services. So the questionnaire had indicators for measuring IT mindfulness, perceived usefulness, perceived ease of use, and intention to adopt personal cloud storage services. So the measures for all these variables or constructs were either adopted or adapted from extant literature, as indicated in the literature review of the actual paper. How did we analyze the data? So the data was analyzed using the structural equation modeling technique, or SEM. So SEM tests were conducted using Smart PLS. Smart PLS is a software tool that is good for testing the measurement and the structural models of a research model. So Smart PLS was used to estimate the relationships among the study variables. But before the data was transported to, or rather exported to Smart PLS, the data was first of all screened to ensure that missing data were removed, to ensure um, that all the data was usable. The good thing with the PLSM, or partial least square SEM, which was used in this study and which is actually implemented by Smart PLS, is that it does not take into account distributional relationships. So we are not going to do tests of normality, tests of linearity, etc., because SEM is not very sensitive to them. So after all the screening, 98 observations were found to be usable for data analysis. Now, in terms of results in data analysis, we conducted some tests before testing the hypothesis. These tests are useful in ensuring that the data is suitable for conducting hypothesis testing. So one important test that was done was the test for internal consistency of the indicators using composite reliability with a threshold value of 0.7 and above. So if composite reliability of the indicators is 0.7 and above, then they are good to be used in the analysis. Another test that was done was the convergent validity, which assesses the extent to which indicators measuring a particular latent variable load highly on that variable compared to other latent variables. We tested this using average variance extracted. The idea behind convergent validity is that those indicators measuring a particular variable, do they actually measure that variable and not measure another related variable inadvertently? So the threshold expected for the average variance extracted is 0.5, and variables meeting that are the ones that should be included in the analysis. So the table shows those measures, and all our variables or constructs, that is perceived usefulness, perceived ease of use, IT mindfulness, and intention to adopt, had met the thresholds for both internal consistency and convergent validity as measured through those two columns. Again, the structural model was also evaluated through the coefficient of determination, R squared criterion, and Cohen's Q squared. So the values for R2 were 0 0.08, 0 0.098, and 0 0.136, with all indicating a weak explanatory power. The results are going to be shown in the next diagram. So we'll see which ones had the R squared of 0 0.08, 0 0.09, and 0 0.136. The values for Cohen's Q squared, which measures the predictive relevance of the model, were the predictive value of perceived usefulness was 0.041. Predictive relevance of perceived use of ease, actually ease of use, was 0.050, and the predictive relevance of intention to adopt was 0.06. So all the values met the Cohen's Q squared, which is required to be greater than 0. So the findings are summarized in this diagram, and we found that there were relationships between ITM and PEU, ITM and PU, ITM and intention to adopt, and again, perceived usefulness and perceived ease of use. So the diagram there is a summary of the results that were generated by the analysis. So from here, we can see that these relationships exist, only that in at the time of submitting this paper for the conference, we had not tested for the significance of these relationships, and that will be done in a full paper that will follow after this conference. So in this study, we didn't check on the significance of these relationships, but we verified that indeed there are relationships as indicated in objectives 1 to 6. Now, in conclusion, we found that IT mindfulness users are aware of multiple perspectives and therefore keen on novelty. So cloud storage vendors for individual use should ensure that their products are novel in nature and provide users with functionalities that enable them to do what they need to do. Cloud storage product should also not just be a service, but a platform, because platforms enables an infrastructure to intermediate between user groups and coordinate peer-to-peer transactions like file sharing or group collaboration. The results of this study also showed that IT mindfulness has a significant positive effect on the intention to adopt personal cloud storage services. Our novel indicator here or variable here is the IT mindfulness, which has not been studied extensively, and its role in terms of intention to adopt technologies. We integrated it with the already well-grounded technology acceptance models. So we found that this new variable, IT mindfulness, actually has a significant effect actually positive effect on the intention to adopt personal cloud storage services. These findings also confirm the increasing relevance of the concept of mindfulness in information systems research. It is therefore an addition to the theoretical basket of IS as a discipline. The study underscores the growing market of cloud storage. Thank you very much.